Each year, the new Nuffield scholars from all countries commence their year of study at the Contemporary Scholars Conference. Hosted by a different country each year, the 2014 conference was held in Sydney and Canberra, Australia. 64 scholars and associates from 10 countries took part.
Our main function is to oversee the running of Contemporary Scholars Conference, where all the Nuffield scholars from all Nuffield countries come together for 1 week in the year. And the idea of that is to bring them together, to meet each other, to give them a cultural experience, pass on to them the importance of an ambassadorial role, but the real thing is to challenge them and to get them discussing topics of international importance and relevance from their individual perspective, and then to come away making them think and to make them challenge whatever they hear, to make them have a position on what's really important for them.
So the objective is, when the scholars come in, is to really just try and get them into one place in a relaxed manner. We actually went out to the rugby union, of course, out at the stadium, Western Sydney. But it was not so much to go to the rugby, it was really about just getting the scholars, getting to know one another, converse with one another. It's the Jew Sunday as the introduction day. And it's interesting, we've used a different format this year, where we actually brought a facilitator in.
They ask of themselves and each other, what are we here for?
Who was a psychologist, and in fact used a technique that was very much personalised, the introductions. We followed on with that in the afternoon then, and doing some work in terms of social media.
And be interesting and provide and be helpful to your community.
And also getting to know yourself. And that again was a part of this introductory process. So Monday we went down to the New South Wales Trade and Investment Centre, 47th floor, beautiful view overlooking Sydney Harbour, trying to set the global context. High-level speakers from Rabobank and also Tassos Haniotis from the European Commission came and talked to us. And we also then delved down and came back down to country issues, looking at the developing countries. What are the issues in the developing countries? So global context, and then bringing it back down to a country basis. And we tried to break the day up. Rather than being cooped up in a conference room all day, we then actually walked down through the Botanic Gardens and had a group photo with that the iconic Sydney Harbour Bridge and Sydney Opera House in the background. And then we actually had a short talk from Clarence Slockey, who is the Indigenous representative at the Royal Botanic Gardens, and he was able to give us a bit of an Indigenous perspective. Unfortunately it rained, so we got a bit wet, but so be it. Then Monday night, we actually took a harbour cruise, and people are really starting to connect with one another, particularly if they've got something in common in terms of their study topic. On Tuesday, we then took the opportunity to jump on buses, and we were travelling to Canberra. But on the way, one bus went to the Sydney fish markets, the second to the Sydney fruit and vegetable markets. From there, the two buses came together, and we went out to Woolworths, one of the major retailers in Australia. And so from there we then went out to Fairfax Agricultural Media out at North Richmond, and they actually were generous hosts and put lunch on for us. But really, more importantly, we really heard from them about where the digital media is taking us. So we then travelled down to Canberra. Then on Wednesday we actually aligned our conference with the Australian Bureau of Agriculture, Resource, Economics and Science, ABARES. The scholars were able to actually attend the session that they wanted to attend, that thought was relevant.
I would like to thank you for this opportunity to talk about my country, to talk about our agricultural perspective.
On the Wednesday evening, after the end of the formal conference, Nuffield actually put on a cocktail party at the National Convention Centre where that conference was being held, and we'd invited a number of stakeholders right across the board. Potential investors in Nuffield International. We also had some of the agricultural councils from a number of countries. The buzz in the room for those 2 or 3 hours was just really fantastic. It was great. The next day we were back in the classroom, so to speak, on the Thursday morning. I think we were very, very fortunate at that stage to actually have Barry Martin, who was he's the global head of Rabobank, global agricultural head. You know, he was able capture in a very concise way, you know, those real issues that are impacting upon world agriculture. And he was looking out beyond the horizon as well. And that's important, that vision of from his perspective, where agriculture was going. And then we actually had another couple of speakers talking about how the research and development system works in Australia, and then that segued then into a bit about social enabling, in fact, and how in underdeveloped countries research and development extension actually works. So, and it's a part of, if you like, Australia's aid program, where we actually have people come in from those underdeveloped countries back to Australia, but we also send people out as well to assist and help those developed countries. On Thursday afternoon, we then took the scholars out of the classroom and they went down to a sheep farm. John and Anne Hiles in their family, and so he was a traditional merino wool grower, but the really interesting aspect about that was the fact that he diversified. During that downturn in the wool industry back in the 80s, he set up a quarry system, and he was selling into landscape business, told a great story, and I think wonderful setting, beautiful setting, and it was the scholars' first real opportunity to get out and actually have a look at the Australian countryside. Thursday night was a highlight. We took the scholars up to Parliament House, and we're very fortunate, in fact, to have two Nuffield scholars sitting in Parliament. Bruce Scott, the member for Maranoa, who's actually, in fact, the Deputy Speaker, and of course Andrew Broad, a 2006 scholar, who has just been elected to Parliament. He's very passionate about agriculture. So we're hosted by Andrew and Bruce up at Parliament House, and the opportunity for the scholars to, behind the scenes, to walk through Parliament House. It was only opened in 1988, and I think they got a great kick out of that. They to see those iconic spots, Prime Minister's office, the media centres. We were able to get the parliamentarians to move around the tables, so most of the scholars had the opportunity to speak to them, and I think that was really valuable from the scholars' perspective. But I'll tell you, it was great from the parliamentarians' perspective. I think they were learning probably as much as the scholars were learning. So Friday we actually then had planned on just taking them completely out of, if you like, an urban environment and getting them into the bush, and then actually spent an hour and a half, 2 hours walking up a creek line and actually talking about this sustainable resource management, which is about trying to conserve water. And this is the Mulloon Institute. We're actually on the property of Tony Coote, but they are really trying to regenerate this creek system, conserve water, doing a wonderful job, and gave us the opportunity then to discuss some of these sustainable issues. It's just, how do you get the environment and production agriculture working together in harmony? A chap coming out talking about soil microbiology. We obviously had Tony talking about his vision for the Mulloon Institute, which he set up on his property for to look at these types of aspects of sustainability in agriculture. And of course then we had two Nuffield scholars, David Brownhill and Terry Hare, both working very, very much in ensuring they've got sustainable agricultural systems. And we finished off then on Friday evening, a very, very relaxed social evening.
10 out of 10. $10 Australian steak.
And of course Saturday is the key day, where what we're trying to do is to actually pull all of these issues that have been raised during the week and have the scholars look at those in more depth and then present on those particular ideas in a formal way. So really trying to make sure that they've got some strong take-home messages.
I think we also think we have to appreciate in the agriculture industry is that we now communicate in very unconventional ways. And this was a story, this was a headline that broke in the States a couple of years ago about how Target, the retailer, figured out that a teenage girl was pregnant before her parents knew based on her shopping habits.
And above all, trust is very important in this thing. And when you are having a local, it is easier to get more trust, because then they say, okay, that's farmer Annegien and I know them and he's good.
So my challenge and my call to action for you all, and this is the simple note of the whole thing, is you as scholars need to go out there and share what you know. It's our responsibility as scholars, and it is how we're going to implement change, and it is how best practice is going to be shared.
We challenge everyone in this room, every single mind that is here. The best agribusiness actually has to offer. to think about what small role each and every one of you can make to alleviate world poverty.
How can we inspire a new generation of rural entrepreneurs? It's a topic that we've discussed greatly this week amongst various discussions. We'd like to now, as a group, present to you one way that we think can be inspirational.
So, given that attitude of yours there, how does that affect your decision making for your family in the future and future generations in the world?
Hoenders is daar vir die toekoms, so ek gee nie om wat in die toekoms gaan gebeur nie, want ek is nie daar om dit te sien nie.
Interesting perspective. Well, thanks very much for that, Vernon. This is Chris signing off for Contemporary Nuffield News, Canberra.
On Saturday night, this evening, we've got an Australian War Memorial that was built in 1928, and we'll have a couple of surprises for the scholars up there. I think they'll be surprised by the actual where they're sitting and where they are, and we'll hopefully have an awe-inspiring finish to the evening.
My country said, son, it's time to stop rambling, there's work to be done. So they gave me a tin hat and they gave me a gun, and they sent me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as our ship pulled away from the quay, and amidst all the tears, flag waving and cheers, we sailed off for Gallipoli.
CSE is something that's been only introduced in the last 10 years really, so as an older scholar I missed out on that. But now, having seen what it is, it's fantastic. It gives the opportunity for all the scholars that are selected in a particular calendar year to come together, and on that basis they really start their induction into Nuffield. And it starts that family network and understanding that we are a real big family.
Colin de Grasser from Esperance in Western Australia. My topic is around how farmers can better engage with policymakers, and my highlight for this week from the Contemporary Scholars Conference is pretty hard. The whole week's been excellent, very good top quality speakers and presenters, but I think for me the highlight was the people. Everyone from around the globe that came together, and the discussions we had was just absolutely amazing.
Hello, I'm Annegien, a scholar from the Netherlands. I like the conference because of sharing views with the other scholars, and I'm convinced that we share a lot of common themes.
My name is Finola. I'm a scholar from Ireland for 2014. For me, the highlight of the CSE has been the global nature, and the biggest message is how truly global agriculture is. We talk about it all the time, and we say we understand the global nature, but this week has really exposed us to it.
There is that disconnect. I'm Polly Ruland. I'm from the US and I'm an Eisenhower Fellow. The best part about being at the CSC this week has been the opportunity to meet so many fantastic young minds in the field of agriculture and visit with them, especially about the global issues that impact agriculture today. My favorite parts of the conference have been the parts where people get together and share their ideas and try to come up with solutions in a community kind of way.
Steve Wolfgram. I'm from Stratford, Ontario, Canada. My study topic is sustainability of food animal production in Canada. The highlight of the conference for me has been the diversity of people and the diversity of opinions. It's created a lot of great debate and I've learned a lot from it.
I am Marielle from Brazil. I'm here to learn more about Nuffield, and I'm sure that I learned a lot, and I can come back to my country full of information and new points of view in my head. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Burney from Nuffield, UK. I live in Northern Ireland, and I've really enjoyed this conference. Probably the real highlight for me has really just been the interchange and the mixing with people from right across the world, all intelligent, all with loads of ideas who challenge perhaps your own thinking, and really just the idea of being able to make almost a global community which we can share ideas in the future. So it's been a brilliant week, and hope it's an ongoing thing for me.
I have been inspired by all of you in this room and all of the top speakers that you brought to us during the week, and it gives me confidence to go forward and to spread the good work that agriculture does around the world.
This has been the longest and shortest week of my life.
Hello, my name is Camille Moreau. I work for a French company which is named Maïsadour Semence. We are sponsoring a scholarship this year, a Nuffield scholarship. I went on the whole week on the CSE. It was very interesting for me to share different points of view and different way of seeing the future of agriculture. And we think it should be something that Nuffield would expand to other countries and to be a real worldwide organization.
The future of Nuffield and the future of agriculture is in good hands.